Hi, from Chicago. It's Chris Sells His Soul. I'm your host, Chris Bogue, and this is my show on LinkedIn Live, where I have conversations with cool people who will help you work more creatively. Today, my guests are Jessie, Lizak, and Eddy Bahnam. Jessie and Eddy, please introduce yourself and let my audience know where they can find you.
Awesome.
Ladies first.
Thanks for having us, Chris. Glad to be here. I'm Jessie Lizak, and I am, during the day, CMO at FeedX, and we are a consumer data exchange platform. And we have an application, and you can upload your CSV of your customer data and get information on them, like gender and household income and birth year, all for free. So check that out. But in the evening, I have so much fun with Reviting's Whiskey Wednesday, which is how we were so lucky to meet you, Chris Bogue. So happy to be here. You guys can find me on LinkedIn, Jessie Lizak, but also search Whiskey Wednesday. That name did change. It's no longer under the Reviting page if you search company page. So search Whiskey Wednesday and follow us there to see our shows this year.
Excellent. I'm hugely happy about that. The switch that we made. I actually already saw people switching over and starting to write Whiskey Wednesday randomly. I thought it was a pretty good idea. Brilliant on that side. So I'm Eddy Bahnam. I'm, as Chris likes to say, the hyperactive salesman. It's a handle that I actually created for myself. I'm a commercial AE during the daytime for a Fortune 5 company. I'm also a sales consultant, coach, and advisor for certain SaaS companies currently. And I'm also the co-founder, of course, and co-host of Whiskey Wednesday alongside Jessie Lizak. And I do a bunch of little things on the side, but couldn't be happier to be here. I mean, I broke vacation for this, and I thought it was miles worth it. So thank you, Chris, for inviting us. And also, I met Chris even before Whiskey Wednesday, and he's always been kind of an indirect network partner kind of thing. And I've always appreciated his presence around me. So thank you, Chris.
Well, thank you both for being here. And thank you to everyone in the audience who's chiming in. So everybody out there, I see we've got a lot of great activity in the comments right now. Sonny, Rachel, Nathan, Diana, Jody, Jared, Rachel, Alexa, Terrence, everybody, if you are here, make sure you check in the comments. If you don't comment, we don't know that you're here. And we're going to be talking a lot today about content, about live streaming, about how to monetize a live stream, about how to talk to your audience like adults. So if you have any questions you want me or Eddy or Jessie to answer throughout the show, leave them in the comments and we might answer them during the episode. But first things first, I want to introduce myself. So my name is Chris Bogue. I am your host. And you can find me on LinkedIn. If you want to ring my bell, I create a lot of video content. I have live streaming events all the time. And today we actually have a couple sponsors for the show. So the show is sponsored by Whiskey Wednesday and Allego. So we're going to be hearing from Allego in the middle of the show during the Gimme Gimme segment. And real quick before we get started, I just have to give a shout out to all our mini sponsors from the sketch we did this week. Allego, Upticks, Westport Studios, Nimbler, and RevOps Shop. You guys were hilarious. Thank you for joining in on our sketch. We love helping you guys promote what you do. And yeah, let's get started here. So just fill the audience in. When did Whiskey Wednesday start? And then how did it start? So
wow.
I'm gonna let, whose idea would you say it was? Who originally was like, let's go out there and do a live stream?
Jessie usually starts us off best, so I'm going to let her go.
I don't think either of us can really claim credit for it because honestly, we met in a community and on LinkedIn, and then we're like, hey, let's just talk for 15 minutes and see who each other are because we apparently agree on a lot of stuff and we post about some similar things. So we both then realized like we wanted to do a podcast. Me in my job and during the day, I was trying to get BDEX to do a podcast. So it was something I was exploring. So then I met Eddy, and Eddy was also talking about podcasts. I'm like, well, maybe we should just play with it. Like, let's have a conversation and get some tools. And, in that exploring, we found StreamYard. We first started with Riverside, then went to StreamYard. And it was the technology that sort of led us to start going live rather than doing an actual podcast. Not to say that we won't, because we have this content now, so we always talk about doing it. But I think it was a mutual. I can't say like either of us can take credit for like the idea. I think it was we were just talking about podcasting and personal branding, and then we just wanted to have fun.
Well, but,
I think
So I will say, if the audience has never watched Whiskey Wednesday, one, go get in on this. They're on break for a moment, but they're coming back in January. It's Wednesday nights at what time?
9 p.m. Eastern.
9 p.m. Eastern. Yeah. Okay, so you show up. All the cool kids from LinkedIn are there. It is like a laid-back conversation. And you guys have a lot of guests. Some shows you have like 4 or 5 guests on. So, Eddy, do you want to maybe talk, what kind of decision was that like to start bringing on the guests? And how do you decide what kinds of guests you want on the show?
Well, I mean, when we were talking, me and Jess, it was always a matter of keeping it within a specific spectrum. We wanted it to be within sales and marketing. The cool thing about how LinkedIn is moving, and some of the people that are on LinkedIn, is that you're seeing marketing folks walk into some sales roles, not sales roles specifically, but doing sales motions. You're also seeing salespeople walk into these marketing motions. So the cool thing is, even though sometimes we seem like we have these shows that are, let's say, sales super shows or marketing super show, the beauty about Whiskey is that whoever we bring on within those two realms are still speaking on those two topics that we want to talk about most in their alignment. So when we go after finding guests, the one thing that I do or Jessie, I think, does collectively is we're always trying to find people that have a little bit of a mix of both. But sometimes you will have, of course, those who are just specifically only in marketing and those who are in sales. But those are some of the best shows when you can really mix and match, because some of that argumentative time comes in, and then you have this combativeness that really allows for further conversation.
Yeah, I guess I'll ask about the combativeness. How much what role has combativeness played in the show? Because you guys wanted to be like, marketing and sales. Let's kind of duke it out and kind of like have some real conversations about this. So, what role has the combativeness played, and how much do you encourage that in your guests?
Jessie, do you want to talk about this? just
sure,
plug it.
I mean, I don't think we really like try to get people to be combative. We just try to bring up the hard topics, and we don't shy away from them. And so you see people talking a lot about like, should sales report to marketing? That's probably one of the most controversial topics that we like to have our guests pick the topics. And a lot of the time the guest will suggest that topic. And, it, as you know, Chris Bogue, from our Nelson episode with Jessie Owlett as well, we brought up those topics, and it really strikes a nerve with people, and it gives them a chance to talk about it and really say what they think about it. And then we can have a real conversation around it. So it's not like we're trying to be combative, but when we touch on these topics that people are very passionate about, it does.
Let me just fill the audience in on some context here. So when she says Nelson, she's referring to a man named Nelson Gilead, who wrote a book called it's like The Death of the SDR.
That's him.
And, yeah. So he was on there. He was on the show, and like Whiskey Wednesday, and this is something we can get into a little further, because the live stream is only half the show. Jessie and Eddy, they do the live stream, they have the conversations, and then there's a Zoom afterwards, and they have the after party. And that's really where a lot of the sparks fly. And I had some critiques of his book, and it was kind of interesting to just have like this format where you're really just arguing ideas.
Say hi.
Hey.
He came down to say goodnight to Daddy. Good night, everyone. This is Gabby.
Night.
After dark. It's after dark. There's no kids allowed.
Night, Gabby.
Yeah. So, tell me a little bit more about, do you use that to kind of attract guests, or like when you're reaching out to people, what does that ask look for? Or how are you enticing them to come do this with you? Because I know how I do it, but I want to hear how you do it, because you guys also have this fun kind of late night vibe that I really love. So, do you want to go first, Jess?
No, go for it. I just answered the last one.
For me, it's just, so the one thing that I noticed, and as a pattern, speaking to a bunch of people when they are making invites, it's kind of like the same, I'm not going to call it rudimentary, but the same structured type of conversations that you see on all different lives and podcasts. The way I go about it is I try to make the person that I'm speaking to, and I always, and people know about this, I've said it many a times, my trick to getting certain guests that they like to see on Whiskey is I start in the comments first. That's my social selling tactic. I start in the comments, I work my way into the DM, but I always make them understand that the show is not just about them. I want you to show up for the people, for the tribe that you're speaking to. That's what's important to us, is that we want your tribe to show up just as much. And we think that people want to hear what you have to say. And this is when, I'm not going to say it's a form of guilt necessarily, but they start to settle in this idea of like, people are seeing these comments and I'm going bananas on it. And I'm literally writing on every single post, your tribe would love to see you. And then I'll get like 3 or 4 homies to go like that post and bring it up the notch. And they're going to feel almost like a sense of guilt. Like, why don't I just respond to this? That's if you want to.
I had no idea you were going with the secret guilt.
I mean, look, it kind of is what it is. And it worked phenomenally well to the point where these creators, they see it as, you know what? It looks like people are liking this comment. Tons of people are engaging in the comment. Clearly, they want to see me speak. There's some people who have never done lives and they show up on Whiskey and they feel comfortable because the setting that we put them in, right? The ambiance is comfortable. We tell them that it's loose, just like this conversation. They don't have to feel any pressure of having this structure, this framework. So we entice them with this. We let them know that this is a loose, fun conversation. It's at nighttime. There's none of these corporate crap that's going on. It's just good old-fashioned fun. So that's what makes it so much easier for people to come onto Whiskey.
Yeah, I gotta say, I just thought that was funny. I threw that up there. No, I mean, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Let's talk about the reality of why we do this, right? Because, just so I'm a person who runs his own business. If anyone in the audience doesn't know, I'm doing the solopreneur thing. And when I started off, I was a sales guy before, right? So I was a hunter. You're out there, you're hunting every single day. And I had live access, because LinkedIn rolled it out last year. I'm like, oh, I guess I'll just start doing live events with cool people. And then all of a sudden, 200 or 300 people would show up. And I was like, it's a lot more efficient to just talk to this group of people right here. There's a lot of people in the room right here. And this is something we can get into later on when we're talking about more the revenue side of this and what B2B companies can see from this. But the reason why we have sponsors on the show, the reason why we have Lego here, the reason why we had 5 sponsors for Jessie and Eddy's sketch is because they know that the audience who comes to this thing is the type of person they can sell to. It's a type of person who, maybe they take courses online, or, maybe they're the type of person who's willing to invest in a coach. Maybe they run a team of SDRs and they would actually be willing to buy something and add it to their tech stack. Like, I've actually done a really good job just making sure that the people I want to have in the audience are here, and they're the people who would be ostensibly interested in what me and my guests want to talk about. And yeah, I'm finding like the audience is like a bigger draw than the show itself, almost. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Because you guys are all about building hype, and it's not just the show. You've got a whole movement around it. So yeah,
I'd like to think so. I want to go into merch eventually. So I think Jessie agrees with me with that. Like, we've had tons of people ask us, when are you going to make like the WWE logo shirts and the hats? And I think it's a great idea. I mean, like, the community asks for something. We've always tried to appease. Like, I think Jess can confirm that with me. We've always tried to give as much as we can based on the certain not demands, but the requests that we have. And I think that it's not necessarily, something that's going to stop. I think that it's something that we should always explore because, yeah, I don't want to go into too much.
Happy. Yeah,
it's about making sure that the audience, the tribe, the community that we're part of, understands the value behind what we're doing, and that's the give. Like, we're huge on the give. If anybody knows anything about Whiskey, I mean, I'm not going to say we started this giveaway concept, but I will say that we emphasized like crazy on the giveaway concept, and I don't think anyone's ever given away as much as Whiskey has. And I don't bullshit when I talk about that last time in one of the shows, but I think we gave away something like over 25K worth of stuff in the last 5-6 months on Whiskey. So I mean, it's massive.
Well, I'm glad you bring that up, because that takes us to segment 2 of the show, which is Gimme Gimme. So Eddy, Jessie, are you ready for Gimme Gimme?
Yes, we are.
Ready.
Okay, so from time to time, I like to remind my audience what the purpose of LinkedIn is, right? It's not entertainment, certainly not comedy. It's not even just helpful, selfless information, right? We all know what LinkedIn was invented for, and it was invented for self-promotion. You want to get a good job, you want to get clients, you want to get paid. So every episode, I like to pop into character, and my guests and I get to ask the audience for exactly what we want. So, Eddy, Jessie, you ready for Gimme Gimme?
We're ready.
All right. Gimme. Hey folks, Boss Bogue here, bringing you the gift at the end of the year that keeps on giving, wonderful content, right? Everybody out there on LinkedIn is sleeping on content the last week, except good old Boss Bogue. So this is the time where I'm gonna go, we're all gonna sell our shit to you, and our first sponsor of the day is Allego. Right? So, Allego, you B2B companies out there, you've got all this data, and the problem is you're not data scientists, right? And you don't know what you're doing, and your team is all over the place. That's why you need Allego. You need sales enablement all in one solution. Simplify your tech stack and make sure that your reps are getting the accurate information that they need when they need it in a form that they can consume easily without having to spread their attention span over 30 different tabs and pages in the CRM that none of us will ever update. So check out Allego. The best thing about them is you can tell they're ahead of the sales enablement game because they watch this show, which means they are ahead of the curve. Check them out. They are awesome. Jessie, Eddy, what do you got?
Jessie.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and plug Whiskey Wednesday. And you know what? When you are really feeling like your brand isn't getting exposed and you're talking to buyers who've just never even heard of you, it's probably because your marketing team is only writing a blog and they're not creating videos and getting out there. And, you know, right now, ChatGPT is going to start taking over all of that written content. So it's time for brands to consider becoming sponsors on shows like this and Whiskey Wednesday, where you can actually get in front of your audience in a way that doesn't look like a cheap ad. And it's like an organic conversation. And like right now, we're talking about Allego, like Whiskey Wednesday. You can see the logos right up here. We do the same thing on Whiskey Wednesday. And I don't know, Eddy, like we've probably had on, I know one time we got up to like 4,000 viewers on YouTube, but like.
You're selling yourself short. The guests these people get on there, right? Justin Welsh, corporate bro. The corporate people on there that people actually pay to hang out with because they're that cool. They come on Whiskey Wednesday just because it's awesome. If you are not advertising on Whiskey Wednesday, you are a maniac who is jeopardizing the future of your business. Eddy,
exactly.
You know I'm right.
I 100% believe that. And honestly, I echo everything that Jessie said. And when it comes to gimme, I look at it as just come on. All you have to do is just try to do what we're trying to do here. And in reality, the movement's not going to stop. I have nothing else to echo but just what Jessie's saying.
Can we just
come to the table,
like, become a sponsor, like sponsor
exactly.
Wednesday. We're looking for annual sponsors right now. Like get your brand in front of your actual buyers and put your logo on Whiskey Wednesday.
Exactly. And I mean, here's the thing. Everyone's trying to make a certain movement going towards media, but it doesn't mean you can't collaborate with people that are already doing it the way that we're doing it. And I mean, look at what Chris is doing. He's creating his own movement, right? This is going to be the future of how we do things here. So at the end of the day, get your logo up there, get your conversation there, so that way you can also get your tribe there. Let them see that you're spreading yourselves in different places. So at the end of the day, the more your logo is shown in different places, the more exposure you have, which in turn could mean potential more inbounds.
Yeah, so, and that's very generous what you do there. I will say to the audience right here, I am not generous. I would actually like you to pay me money, and I think I could make a compelling argument why paying me money is actually going to be better for you than getting my stuff for free, right? So I just announced, I'm not going to announce who it is yet, but I'm going to announce it here to the audience tonight. I just picked up my first creator advisor gig. I'm going to be working with a team of creators next year. We're going to be making epic shit. 6 storytellers, 1 story, multiple formats. It's going to be amazing. And I'd like to come in and help your company too. So if you like doing things like putting events on that people actually go to, spending your time on things that actually generate money, that are actually fun and fulfilling and cool and start conversations, maybe you should hire Chris Bogue to do some shit with you, right? Because you can hire me for a 90-minute session, you can hire me to come consult with you or train your team, you can hire me as a coach, and I have a special announcement. January 10th is my first ever cohort coaching program. So it's going to be a small group of 10 people. There are 4 slots remaining. We're going to see an infomercial about that in just a minute. You have the chance to go join this because it's going to get way more expensive in the future. It's only $300 to join right now. The next one, I guarantee you, is going to cost much more. So if you want to spend 6 weeks making entertaining video content that's going to be good for your brand with me, join the cohort. Jessie, Eddy?
Jessie, I think you should plug yourself in on the consulting side, at least for the marketing. Come on. I mean,
do it. They're sitting here.
The shit that you're capable of doing, you need to get it out there.
With your marketing, like, man, is my internet cutting? I'm sorry if I'm like going in and out.
No, yeah, you have the platform.
Like, I have the platform. Do you guys need help with your marketing? Like, what is your marketing team doing? What are your goals? Let's start with that. Before we get into like what you should actually be doing on LinkedIn, which is what I can help you with, let's figure out what your goals are, what your strategy is, because I guarantee you that stuff is lacking. So give me a call. Let's talk through it and let's get you onto a 2023 marketing plan so we can kiss the 2014 marketing plan goodbye.
Here's my plug, and I'm actually going to give away something. This is something I've never given away on Whiskey Wednesday, but this is not Whiskey Wednesday, so I'm actually going to give away something. But what I am going to plug is, this is something that's becoming more and more popular, and the fact that we're right here, right now on LinkedIn, I've been doing more and more of these social selling consultations. Fucking reach out. Trust me when I tell you, the one thing that I know from working for some of these SaaS companies out there, it's night and day when you take this approach. And I'm just saying it. And on top of that, just because I want the comments to blow up, we're not really doing the draw. But what I will ask is if you would just simply want to... Actually, Chris, what do you want to mention? Tell me what you want to mention.
I'm ready to close the bid out, so ask them for whatever you want.
How about this? Just put in... Just mention Chris Bogue's name as many times as you want, and I'll give somebody a 30-minute free consultation on social selling. I can guarantee you this will uplift whatever it is that you're doing. And I tell you, this is something that I've been doing with more and more SaaS companies and also more and more sellers. I think this is the future. This is exactly where we're going. So just plug in, just mention Chris's name in the comments.
You can say Boss Bogue. You can say Boss Bogue. Get 30 minutes with Eddy. Yeah. This has been Gimme Gimme. Iggy, roll the tape. Hi, I'm Chris Bogue. Blah, blah, blah. Boo, boo, boo. Boo, boo, boo. That could be me! Would you like to create short, fun video content that represents your brand? And you might want to join the cohort. This January, I am launching my first ever cohort training program. So this is going to be a small group. It's going to be 10 people going for 6 weeks. And we're going to get deep on all kinds of videos. So you do not have to be a comedian. We are going to be going and just making short, simple stuff. It's going to be good for our brands. We're going to keep each other accountable. We're going to have video challenges every week. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So as of the time of this video, 4 of the 10 slots have already been claimed. Everybody's paying $299, and that means there's 6 slots left. So if you are interested in being part of this group, head on over to chrisbogue.io and fill out a short form about your availability and what you're looking to learn. And if you know somebody else who's interested in getting into creative video content, you might want to pass this video on to them. So hope to see you there. Please DM me if you have any questions. And I'll see you on LinkedIn soon when I'm doing something funny. All right. Awesome. We are back. So that's a nice segue. We're going to close out the show today. Oh,
you went mute.
You're muted. There we go.
I should have it.
Oh, your mic's not working now.
Now it is. I got it now.
Now it is.
I got it. Okay. So, the underlying reason of why I'm doing this, the reason why I have a live stream called Chris Sells His Soul, and the reason why I went my own way and I'm doing all this creative stuff on LinkedIn is because I noticed that the methods that B2B used to rely on for sales and marketing have become less effective. And I really believe that stuff like this, getting into conversations, doing live streams, having events, I think this is really the future. And I'd like to hear some predictions. We're going into 2023 now, so let's just kind of start with the road ahead. Where do you see? Let's just assume we're all ahead of the curve here, right? So let's start with what are you hoping to do with live streaming and community in the coming year, and what do you think B2B is going to try to do?
Ooh, love this topic, Jessie.
Mm-hmm. Take it, Eddy. Go first.
So 2 things. First one is, and now I'll tone it down a little bit here and go smooth after dark. The one thing I do see is more branching out. So for Whiskey, at least, this is something that me and Jess have talked about profusely. Like, LinkedIn is an unbelievable platform. I think as a starting point, it was wonderful, establishing a brand there. But there are a lot of opportunities outside of LinkedIn also. The one thing that we want to penetrate is something like YouTube. We do want to go into other things, maybe like Facebook or maybe even Twitter, right? There are spaces that could take advantage of this. So we do want to explore that. On the other side of the spectrum, the second portion of that topic is I have been speaking to other companies, and I will tell you, from call them unicorns down, everybody's looking into media. More and more people that see what you're doing, what Whiskey's doing, what Rev Geniuses of the world are doing, all these live shows that are happening, the more they want to be involved. Now, where the value comes, we'll get into that in the other part of the segment, but there is massive value behind live, especially when it comes to the collaboration with the audience that you have. And I think this is where we're headed, especially when you see something like the TikToks of the world and what they're doing, right? So I think more and more we're building momentum towards this.
What about you, Jessie?
I think that what we're going to see is brands focusing on building trust. And I think that that's going to start to look different because, like I was mentioning Chat GPT earlier, the ways are changing. We're already ahead of the game just by being live and doing these podcasts. So if we want to stay ahead of the curve as ourselves, I think we're going to have to become more creative because we're going to be seeing more people getting on lives, becoming creative, getting on podcasts. So the type of content that we put out there, like your promo video, Chris, I think we're going to be seeing more of that from the people who are taking this seriously. But I think we'll see average B2B marketers stepping up and going live. That's going to push us creatives to have to be even more creative on video.
Yeah, you're going to see it. I can tell you're going to see it because they're already doing it. I can already see my fingerprints all over the content out there. And when one really lands, I'll see all my B2B friends try some variation of it shortly after. And I actually want to talk more about Chat GPT. So if anybody in the comments wants to throw some thoughts in about this, I'm going to give some context for anybody who's not super plugged into this. Chat GPT is the AI tool where you basically just give it a prompt and it does professional writing for you. And a lot of people are already beginning to have Chat GPT write their business content for them. There's probably some data out there about Chat GPT being more successful at writing business communications than your average sales rep or average entry-level person trying to get into marketing. And yeah, I really look at it as kind of like Terminator 2, where it's like us versus the machines, and I'm on Team Humans, So yeah, tell me a little bit more, like anyone in the audience wants to throw in about it too, but where do you guys see something like Chat GPT, something like AI helping making your job better, but also how do you plan to do things that AI can't do?
Shit, I'm already using it.
Tell us about it.
When I started hearing about it, I wanted to be involved in some way. So I'll tell you right now, I am writing, call it just an ebook about something that I'm quite fond of, and that's revolving around sales questions. So I've always built a repertoire as I built my playbook, and the one thing I wanted to do was create some form of validation. So I went on to ChatGPT and I just simply asked it, for example, give me 5 good discovery questions for sales. And it would literally come out and I would have 2 out of, let's say, the 5. And I'm like, wow, okay, so these are popular questions that I'm asking. So then I would look at the description in it and I'd see how it, let's say, validates compared to what I have. So I'm not necessarily taking it to build content, but it's great when you're trying to validate the content that you have. And then you also go and find other sources out there to see for comparable purposes. But then let's say I want to create another segment within my book or within the ebook, and I want to talk about other types of questions like closing questions. And I want to spark up some ideas for questions that I might have forgot about. I go in there and I just ask it, and it comes up with this brilliant way of structuring, even sometimes in a progressive chronological manner. So I'm like, Jesus, I didn't even think about this. Why don't I do it in a chronological manner? So this way it stands out more. And it doesn't just give it these blatant questions.
So you're using it mostly as a teacher?
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm a continual learner. I'm a lifetime learner. That's the objective, is I'm learning just as much, but I'm allowing it to spark something in me, because there are certain things that as a person I might not be using that I could still go in my own little repertoire and bring back to the table so that I can bring to the front lines. So it is truly an unbelievable tool. And I'm not going to use it necessarily for content creation just yet. I have my own method when it comes to content strategy. And this is something that I want to create. And I think that within 2023, I won't talk about it, but I found a way, basically, and I'll hint at it, within an hour to 3 hours to basically create enough content for a month. And it's kind of bananas. But I didn't know about this until 2 weeks ago, and it's crazy.
Real quick, I want to ask Jessie the same question. So, Jessie, have you employed any AI in your life? And what advantages do you think you have over AI?
Any AI in my life? Well, first of all, on that note, I just wanted to give you a warning that Karen will be showing up here soon. She was just messaging me, so I apologize for all that beeping in my notifications.
We could leave that a surprise.
Okay. And then, so for AI, I mean, that's a pretty general question because that includes a lot. So just like besides ChatGPT, which no, I haven't, I've played with it, but not using it. On the Deconstructing Data podcast, we do have something pretty exciting coming up with it where we're going to try to like make a show with ChatGPT. But regardless of that, AI, you should use the AI for learning about your customer data and targeting your audience. So, like use machine learning to take the data that you already have and learn from it to do better work. So whether you're looking at your CRM data and understanding who is actually a closed won deal so that you can go out and target with ads people who are like those people, like that. Yes, I use that type of AI, but not ChatGPT. I haven't worked that into the marketing strategy yet.
Yeah, well, see, that's the whole thing. I go out here and I do stuff like this, and I do stuff like the wacky, trailer we did together, which, by the way, if nobody saw it, if you ever want to mosey on over to my LinkedIn page, we go really off the wall with these sketches. And I always like to put, I was inspired by like Mr. Show and like Conan O'Brien and all these like weirdos growing up. And I do that because I don't think that AI can do that. I think AI right now, and it's going to get better in the future, but I think right now AI is good at showing you the correct way that everybody else is supposed to do things. And I don't do things the correct way. I purposely try to do things the incorrect way, and that's what gets me noticed. So, excuse me. Can I help you? Who is this?
Is this the LinkedIn management team?
I guess I'm technically the manager of this live stream.
Okay, well, you don't look like someone who would work for LinkedIn.
What makes you say that?
Well, I don't know. I'm a little bit suspicious right now. I'm very angry. I've had a very bad week, and I would like to talk to the manager. And if I don't get the management team on the phone, it's going to be very ugly. You've heard of blitz scaling and all the Reid Hoffman books? Well, Karen's going to go blitzing out there tonight because I'm mad.
Yeah, that's right, everybody. Karen came by. She's very upset. Karen, is there anything I could do to help you tonight?
Yeah, well, let me tell you why I'm upset. I've been getting demon dialed by these pesky, annoying SAS kids who I absolutely can't stand. They call my personal cell phone all day long, and they do it with numbers. They're exchanging these weird phone numbers. And when I call them back, sometimes it's not even the same company that called me before. It's these data providers and these Ferrari Lambo driving data providers, CEOs, that are giving them my phone number.
I mean, like, I guess this is another controversial opinion because I kind of agree with Karen here,
Well, thank you, Chris. I mean, it's been so hard to get my message out there.
Look, it's like, I haven't cold called anybody this week. I just got them all to come here to watch me go boo, boo, boo. That's my thing.
What a novel idea! And if you made ebooks, I'd be downloading your ebooks because I love ebooks.
I am gonna release an ebook too, so that makes me so happy, Karen.
I like you, Chris. You're one of my favorites. And look, I've been calling into Eddy and Jessie's show, which I think is a great show. They have some great guests. And look, I call in every week trying to talk to the LinkedIn management team, and they're hiding like a bunch of cowards. Where is the LinkedIn management team? Come out of your hole, for crying out loud. This is, look, I don't want to get thrown off the broadcast here, but LinkedIn, you need to step up. The SAS kids are calling me nonstop, and I know you have something to do with it, and I'm angry. So please take me off the list. I can't deal with this anymore. Little Johnny, he's kicking the soccer ball around the yard, and this ass kid's all of a sudden that stupid iPhone ringer just keeps coming out. So
that's so cute. How old is little Johnny?
asking. We just celebrated his 12th birthday. He's better than all the other kids. And I make sure of it because we got him in special programs. You know, I run a pretty big HR department, and, you know, everyone really loves to make sure that I get out. I get out at about 3 o'clock after we do the layoffs for the day. And, you know, we get a couple people fired a day here. We're trying to trickle them out, slowly move them on. And, you know, some of these cats we put on a PIP, but hey, that's just the way it is. One little prick tried to keep his laptop last week. I drove over to his house and called his mother and said, I need that damn laptop back.
Yeah. I don't really know what to say, Karen.
I told him we had MDM all over that damn thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if you're allowed to do that legally, but if you want to spend your days calling and harassing the head of LinkedIn, I say God bless you.
Well, thank you, Chris. I mean, I feel like I'm getting validated on this show. Sometimes Jessie's guests roll their eyes at me, and now I'm not coming after Jessie or Eddy. They're two great people. I know they run a pretty good show, but listen, I don't need the guests laughing at me. I mean, a lot of people laughing, but not the guests. Come on. I mean,
I love Karen.
Rolled their eyes.
I love Karen.
Everybody, if you got an ebook, if you got a PDF guide, let Karen know, and try not to call her personal cell phone. Everybody,
I'm trying to do work over here. I run an HR department, and we're laying the whole company off.
Jesus. All right. Well, Karen, you sound like you're very sick, so we're gonna have to let you go. But thanks for dropping by. Everyone, give it up for Karen.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karen.
All
Man,
right.
Karen's the best.
Man, so that was, of course, I'm sure people in the audience are like, what the hell just happened? That is totally normal stuff for Whiskey Wednesday. So, like, we had to, it's the last show of the year. What are we going to do, not have Karen show up?
Well, that's why I wanted to give a little bit of a warning, because I know you advised us, Chris, that we needed to start preparing our guests for the whole Karen bit. And that was really good advice. So that's why, you know, when I was getting all those DMs from Karen, I wanted to make sure that it was going to be okay.
Well, yeah.
Karen for president.
Yeah, the Karen for, oh God, don't. That might actually work. But yeah, and this is the other thing I kind of want to get into too. I think this is an interesting thing. So Karen is one example of an inside joke. You know, and I have my own. I've got different characters that I play for my audience. Boss Bogue that we saw earlier, you know, it's the Trumpier Wolf of Wall Street version of me. And then I've got Vageman, who's the exact opposite, who's a very la-di-da, non-committal type character. And, you know, it's this thing where it's like you're trying to build a following. You want to get people who are in on the joke. So yeah, I guess kind of like, has it ever surprised you, like the things that people catch on to from Whiskey Wednesday, or is anybody ever like, I don't know, has anyone ever surprised you at Whiskey Wednesday by how much they loved it or what stuck with them?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All the time. Shit happens all the time, especially in the after hours, like in the after party. I mean, we've had some really cool, sensitive conversations in a ways where how people have kind of come. Sorry, I'm slowing it down. It's just like I remember certain conversations of people saying what it meant to them, or what it means to them even currently, and what it's changing for them in their everyday life. I'm not saying Whiskey Wednesday is a life-changing show, but what I do think is that the stuff that we bring to the table, the value that we bring, does create life-changing events. And we've been told many a times by different people what it's doing. And I think that's the fuel that we take to grow it. Because at first, the one thing we didn't talk about with me and Jessie, like we started this as just kind of for the homies. The history behind it was really simple. Me and Jess were in a WhatsApp group that Chris, you're part of now. And we just said, you know, can we chat? And we chatted. We had similar interests in doing something live as a podcast that turned into a show. And then eventually we said, well, why don't we just do it for the homies? Just send out an invite to a couple people, WhatsApp and LinkedIn. And first show was like 4 people. We didn't expect anything. We didn't even have a real name. And then we just bounced around tons of different names. And eventually we settled on Whiskey Wednesday. And then just grew from 4 to like 6 to 10. And then eventually the biggest episode had almost 200 people simultaneously watching for almost an hour with Justin Welch in corporate. And then we kind of hovered around the 70 to 100 mark simultaneously. And we didn't know what it was at first, but we're glad we stuck to it and stayed consistent, right? Because the things that we hear inside those after hours and even in our DMs. Like that, even now I get shivers saying it, but that's what keeps us going. We know that we're doing the right thing. And it always feels good to do the right thing.
Jesse, I'm going to ask you. So what's the biggest surprise you've gotten from one of your guests or an audience member? I have my answer that I want to share because there's always an answer that I get that surprises and delights me. But yeah, has anything surprised you on this journey of interviewing people on LinkedIn Live?
What surprised me? I guess, some of the things that we would just do, like, for example, singing Guru of the Week. I, for a while, was like, I'm not even going to sing that anymore. But then people were like, we love when you sing Guru of the Week. And I'm like, okay, like, I didn't know that, And so I guess that was really shocking to me because I thought I was just being goofy and having fun. Because as Eddy said, we were literally just doing this for the homies and I was just being silly. But it stuck.
But
and
that's
another,
it. That's it. That is what they're coming here for, And this is why I do the sketch. This is why I do sketch comedy whenever I have a guest on here. The greatest compliment that anybody can ever give me is when they go create something and they're like, hey, I created this because I've been following your stuff and it got me to like go out there and do something. And I have my friendship with Jessie here. And the reason why I had her on the piano in the sketch was because it was one of those situations where she saw a video I did. She was like, oh, I should go out there and play the piano. And I was like, why don't you play the piano? That would be so cool. You could have the camera just like right on the keys so you could see you in the keys. And then, there's nothing I love seeing more than when somebody does something and it lands and the audience is like, more, we want more.
Chris, I really have to thank you for that. Because if you were in like our very first after party when like, I think it was our second episode that was actually live. And you were the one that was like, if you have a skill, even if you're not that good at it, like myself at piano, record yourself doing it. Literally that next week, I went and did my first TikTok parody. And I got a lot of attention from it. So thank you for saying that. And everybody should listen to Chris when he's talking about just like find your skill, even if you're not that good with it, and record yourself, because even when you mess up, that makes you more human. And that's something that AI wouldn't necessarily do, right? So people begin to trust you more. And so, I don't know. Thanks, Chris, for encouraging me to do that.
Oh, yeah, no problem. Go on, Eddy.
No, I wanted to echo something with Jessie. The one thing I think me and Jess, and I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, Jess, but the one thing that I love that surprises me all the time is when we ask the guests at the end, what do they think about the show? And the thing that always takes them by surprise is how everything is done between me and Jess. Like everything is done between just me and her. And then when they come back and say, the production and this and that and all the timing and the structure, and then when we tell them it's just us, they get shocked. And the funny thing is we've had people that do something similar in a different media fashion. But this is where I think for us, we have this validation that, holy shit, we did build something beautiful. And I think that for me is it.
Well, I think too, there's something about not being perfect. And I think there's something about like, everybody jokes about the happy hour and how kind of cliche that has become for companies, but anytime I've ever been in a group that meant something to me, where I learned and grew as a person, there had to be some downtime where we were just kind of shooting the shit and talking unfiltered, Mm-hmm. And the reason why people see me out there doing comedy, doing promo videos, doing these big events and stuff like this is because I need to live and I need to pay my bills. And it's so much more effective to go interact with people. And this is actually, we were talking earlier, I'm, launching my first ever cohort program where we're doing video assignments every week. The first video assignment that the cohort has to do is called Ask the Audience, where you go to the audience with a question and you create a piece of content based on the responses that you get. But I don't know. I see all these salespeople complaining about how their cold calls and their cold emails and stuff doesn't work. And I'm literally talking to dozens and dozens of people every day. And I don't get why more people don't do this. Anybody in the comments, can you answer me? Why don't we see more people doing some sort of let's go out there in a no bullshit kind of context?
A lot of it revolves around fear. So I've asked a couple people actually have come to me about this, and I've asked the question because people tell me, I love what you're doing. You and Jess are crushing it, and I asked the question because look, I'm not filter free, but I'm pretty shameless, and I ask people, why don't you do something like that? And they'll tell me, well, I'm not really good on camera, and I tell them, you think I was? Nobody's perfect at doing this. Like you'll learn. It's a progressive thing, and you just have to start. And I have a beautiful story I'll tell probably if you want to do an after hour stay for 5 minutes or so. But everyone talks about you just got to start. But it literally all it takes is just to start. Just do once. And if you do it bad, at least you did it and then you learn from it. And to give you a really condensed story, this is something I heard a while back and my wife kind of wanted to do something like this. She loves to do interior design, but doesn't really want to do it in any business way. So I told her, why don't you just write a plan out of what you want to do? She's like, a bunch of different reasons why not, because her career is not in that. I said, look, just even if it's bad, just write a bad plan. Whatever it is, just write it. Doesn't matter. Comes back, it's half decent. But here's the beautiful thing is, at least you did something. You started. Even if it was a bad plan, it's a start, and then progress from that point. It's the same thing with anything, from content, from any practice in the entire world. Just have to start somewhere.
Yeah, I want to jump in on this comment here because I'm sure we all deal with this. But I'll say, Jody, the unfortunate flip side of failure and being less than perfect is sometimes you go out there and you're perfect and nobody sees it. It just happens. Take it from somebody who will, like, if I have a bit in a video, I will spend all these extra hours because I gotta get it perfect. And sometimes the one that is perfect is the one that nobody watches, and the one that's kind of rough around the edges lands me a new client. And it's like, you never know. And this is, talk to any content creator on LinkedIn. Sometimes it's those posts that only have 6 or 7 comments, and that's the person who gets it because it's so hyper specific to a very small amount of people. And I always say, when I'm going out there, I am not swinging for the fences with these LinkedIn posts. I'm not trying to do the thing that 1 million people are going to click the like button on. I'm trying to get into my people's head and give them something they're really going to love. So yeah, I would say, oftentimes failure is more entertaining than perfection. And Jessie, I'm curious here too. What role does this play in your life? That tug between putting stuff out there and making sure the quality is there.
Ooh, it's a good one. And I think that people who have nerves about going live, that's completely natural and for good reason. Because I will say I've had backlash from going live. I've had people who didn't like things I said and, would want to complain about me or be rude to me in my DMs. So it really is something you should think strongly about and really consider. And also, most companies aren't this forward thinking yet where they're doing things like that. So if you are in one of those jobs, which many people are still in companies who aren't doing this type of marketing yet, they might not like it if you're going out there. And so it is something to be conscious of. I'm not saying don't do it, because you should still do it. And I did it. And I think that pushing through my fear is what actually helped me grow, because I was scared to go live. I was scared that we were going to technically mess up, and we did. We tried to go live 3 times, and the technology just didn't work. So we were just stuck in Riverside.
That happened to every single person on LinkedIn Live. The first one always fails because you didn't get StreamYard or Riverside. Every single person you see out there doing it has failed, and also none of us were invited. None of us were invited. Nobody was like, oh, you should start making content about sales. There's plenty of that, I had to decide that I had something different to say about it. I had a different storytelling toolkit than other people out there. So I'm going to go say it anyway. But it was, I think it was MJ Peterson on your show. She was on Whiskey Wednesday from Refine Labs.
Yeah.
And she had such a great way of putting it, where she says, think of it as it's a voluntary one-person presentation. You can go out there and do your presentation, and it's just it's not It's not rude. It's not like you have the floor. You could just go out there and talk about whatever you want and just see who's into it. And I really try to encourage failure because you got to get over your fears to do something like this.
Oh man, I talk about that in sales psychology all the time, how to embrace failure. It's the best thing you could ever do. Once you learn how to, those two words, embrace failure, your life can change, in a way that is unexplainable, because that's how you build grit, right? You fall and you get back up. But the idea is that when you fall hard, and something like a stream once it didn't work, we fell hard on that. We noticed that people were asking us, like, where the hell were you? We had to put out a post and we canceled. But the reality is when you fall on your face the first time, it hurts like hell. But then what happens is you learn. You embrace that failure, you learn. And then eventually, how you build grit is you eventually fall on your butt. Your butt's more cushiony. So in reality, it's not going to hurt as much. Then eventually you just start tripping. But it's a lot better than falling on your face. And that's how you build that grit, by embracing failure and learning the formula behind it.
Yeah. I actually want to mention here, so Tom Slocum, hey Tom, he's in there, Whiskey Wednesday, regular Tom Slocum. So Tom earlier today had a phone-a-thon. So it was a joint effort. He had a bunch of people come in. It was like an end-of-year push. And they were live cold calling. They had live events all day. And I think this is really where it's at. I do a lot of live events like that too. I've done a couple events where I'm live cold FaceTiming, and I batch content sometimes in front of my audience. And I actually think this is my alternative to like cancel culture, to call out culture, to just stories about negativity where people are always fighting with each other. My thing is like create a situation where you have to actually go out there and try. And we don't know how it's going to turn out. You know, I was always inspired by the Pixar. If anybody's ever seen Pixar, has like its rules, like it's 20 rules for their writers. And the number one rule is like your audience doesn't, I'm going to butcher the quote, but it's like your audience cares more about the character trying than them succeeding. You know, it doesn't matter if it's a very small goal or if it's a very big goal, win or lose, they just want to see that person trying. And I'm like, if you go find the people who are already trying, if you go find the people who are putting themselves out there, you engage with them, you come to their events, they ask a question, throw them an answer. If you go out there with the people who are putting themselves out there, that's an easy way to not have to come up with ideas, you know? And I, as a young satirist, as a young comedian, I always got caught in the trap of criticism. I would go out there and criticize all the people that I thought weren't doing it as well as me. And when I just got a platform and I started bringing on people and sharing my platform with people who had things to say, it just changed my life.
I'd love to say one thing about that. Just for the people who ever want to do something like this or anything, and you see people that are doing it, never be afraid to just simply ask how. That's the thing that I seldomly see. And like from the amount of times that we've done this, and I think it's because it comes out of fear. I don't know what really, I don't want to explain the emotion, but I've had a couple people tell me like, how do you do just this one thing? But then you see the lead. They're leading into the larger picture of things. But great example. Tom, speaking about Tom, reached out to me, and I'm sure he reached out to Jessie about the phone-a-thon, and he said like, how are you doing this and how are you doing that? And I was more than happy to help, because we need more of this. And it's nice to see people taking what we're building and then using it for themselves, because you know it's succeeding. But I just tell people, don't be afraid to ask how. There's tons of people out there that are willing to give you information. And I have seen this posted once or twice on LinkedIn about how people are so afraid to simply just go and ask for help, even from CEOs or C-suite people or executives. But then the funny thing is you see posts of people saying that I've reached out to ask for help, and they were surprised how many people of high stature actually came back and said, I'd be glad to help. Like, I mean, if it's not an ask for you to buy something or for them to buy something, you'd be surprised how many people are truly human. We're all human at our core. We all have a heart. And if it's something that makes sense to us and we have the time for it, we're definitely going to be there to help.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I guess, so we're getting here to the end of the hour. I've immensely enjoyed this conversation. So yeah, it's the end of the year. Why don't we talk a little bit about what we hope, some hopes for the coming year. What would you like to see happen in your career or in your network, or goals you have or things you want to do next year? Jessie, do you want to start us off? What are you looking? What's on the horizon for you in 2023?
Oh man, there's a lot, and I don't want to disclose everything just yet, because I'm not ready. I'm still formulating my goals, but
you could set a goal for everybody else. Then maybe if you want LinkedIn, set a goal. What would you like LinkedIn to do differently in 2023? If you want to share that.
What would I like LinkedIn to do differently? Fix their DMs on their mobile app. And
thank you.
Hello. But no, you'll continue to see me on lives. You'll continue to see me on podcasts. We do have a podcast for BDEX, Deconstructing Data. And it's growing and it's fun. And you'll see me starting to dig into that more. Thank you, Emily, for the shout out. She said that, she reached out to me and asked for help on StreamYard. And if anyone out there is interested in help on StreamYard, like Whiskey Wednesday, we're StreamYard affiliates. So just putting that out there, we're happy to help you get signed up. So just ask for help, try, and I'm going to be learning, and I'm going to continue digging, and I'm going to be continuing trying to figure out how to make live streams more creative, more interesting for both the audience as well as the guests. And also, I don't want to say most importantly, but really putting the sponsors at the forefront as well, because at the end of the day, they are the ones that keep us going. Because if we don't have those sponsors, then this does become a lot of work and it gets exhausting. And then something like this just falls by the wayside. So yeah, that's going to be my goal, is figuring out how do we make this better? How do we monetize this even further to a way that allows us to have more creative freedom?
I'm with you 1,000,000%. So for Whiskey, at least, the one thing that we were very fortunate is we have secured our first yearly. I think we're almost secured on the second. And I think our whole objective is to make sure that, like Jessie said, get to the point where we no longer have to worry about the one-offs and the monthlies, and just have, our sponsors that really believe in what we're doing there for the entire year, so we can focus on the innovation piece when it comes to whiskey. But as far as myself, the one thing that I'm driving more towards is I'm really inclined. I used to do digital products in the past. I never really sold them on LinkedIn, but I'm going back towards that track. I'd like to unload. I have a ton of stuff in my repertoire, a ton of stuff in playbooks that I've built over 15 years of sales and over 15 years. I'd like to put that on paper again and do it more in a digital fashion where I can start actually selling that. I want people to have this synthesized data that I've been able to accumulate over so many years in a way that's actionable so they could take advantage of it. Because I feel like I've always been able to help from a one-on-one standpoint or one-to-group standpoint, but I want to have a way that doesn't necessarily take my time, so things like Whiskey Wednesday can be explored further, and I don't have to do much more of the time instead of just the actionable items.
Yeah, well, as somebody who has to fund all his stuff by himself, I will say, anybody out there listening tonight, you want to throw some money at the show, I'm only going to do cooler, funnier, better shit the more money I have. So, Jessie, Eddy, thank you for coming out. Thank you for everybody in the audience. Thank you to Whiskey Wednesday and Allego, our sponsors here. Say bye, everybody.
Before you go, I have a surprise for you, Chris. I'd like to talk to you about a monthly, just saying. As far as EB3 goes, I'll be your first.
That's a great surprise. So thank you very much. And I'm going to play this with one last blatant advertisement because that's what I do. See ya, everybody.
See ya.
Hello?
Is this Mr. Sherber?
It sure is. What can I help you with, brother?
Hello. You were not expecting this call. Do you have 17 seconds to
Hang
learn
on a
about
second.
Mercifully Short?
Is this a cold call?
I don't know.
You. Never call this number again.
Oh no! Another unsuccessful cold call. You probably don't have time to fuck off.
I got a quota to hit.
Are you spending hours every week cold calling and cold emailing but not seeing results?
There's gotta be a better way.
Introducing the complete guide to selling on video. Whether you're new to sales or a President's Club member, this fast and fun course will teach you to efficiently create short, customized videos that get results. The complete guide to sewing on video is not sold in stores. Visit chrisbogue.io and use promo code GIMMEGIMME to take $50 off while supplies last. Don't delay, get noticed.